Hi everyone, thanks for having me here. Thanks for showing up after last night. I really appreciate it. I'm going to talk to you today about remote success. I'm going to talk about focus, efficiency, and project management in that remote working context, because it's also something that I think is very important. And I'm going to start with this quite controversial quote from Elke Gerards, who's CEO at Better Minds at Work. And she basically says that we are all pigeons. We just pack around at random. And I think she's right. Look back at your workday, not yesterday because we all were here, but look back at your workday last week. And whoever felt like this pigeon, you are just wandering around, packing around, jumping in and out of meetings, answering emails, answering notifications on Teams and on Slack. You are doing whatever someone throws at you. And at the end of the day, your work is still there. You get nothing done because you are available for everyone else, but not for yourself. So that's why I'm here, and that's what we're going to talk about. So I think Annie Dean from Atlassian, she is right. If we are constantly answering and packing around and doing whatever someone else wants, we have to stop responding to messages right away. Responding to messages right away, it isn't a sign of commitment. It's basically saying that you don't have your priorities straight. It's basically saying that you don't know what you're doing, because at that point you can start answering whatever someone throws at you. And Atlassian has done some research, and their research shows that 65% of knowledge workers, us, think that it's more important to respond to messages instantly than to work on top priority work. Research from Atlassian has shown that in organizations with poor meeting culture, people spend 50% more time in unnecessary meetings. Now let that sink in. And that basically reminds me of my bag of chips. People at the first rows, you have all received a bag of chips. And I can imagine that you're thinking, what does that bag of chips have to do with focus and efficiency? Now bear with me. At the end of my evening, after work, I open that bag of chips, I start eating, I start watching Netflix, I start scrolling on social media, and by the end of that evening, I finished that entire bag of chips. And what's the end result? You get fat, you feel sick, you've wasted your time. And I don't think that anyone who starts eating that bag of chips thinks about, I'll finish that bag of chips this evening, but somehow it just happens. And I know there are way more smarter things to discover or to discuss to avoid me eating that entire bag of chips, but it happens. Now compare that bag of chips to your mailbox, to your workday. Whoever decides at the start of their day, this will be the day that I will be living in my inbox for the entire day. Said no one else. But for some reason, it just happens. And that makes that you feel like you don't have control over your days. You just do whatever you want. You just pack around at random like a pigeon. So I am here to start sharing some tips and tricks on how you can gain control over your days, gain control over your priorities. Because as remote workers, we tend to feel that we have to be available all the time. We have to be on all the time. We have to be answering messages instantly, because otherwise our colleagues, they don't hear us, they don't see us. Are you really working? But if you're at the office, chit-chatting, packing around, are you really working? Now, I love Kay Fabella. I think you should all go on LinkedIn and give her a follow, because she says that we have to stop pretending that productivity is about hours in the chair. Productivity is not something that you can measure by hours. We have to look at value that we create. We don't have to look at time spent at the office. It's about value. If you're at the office between 9 to 5 and you have been jumping in and out of meetings for the entire day, are you creating value? Is the office really the place to be where you can work in a focused way, where you can deliver value for your client, for your team? Or are you just chit-chatting, packing around like a pigeon? Do you get your work done at the office? So I think we have to start prioritizing our tasks. We have to start prioritizing our goals at the start of the day. Otherwise, someone else will decide what our day will look like, and we will be doing someone else's job. And at the end of the day again, your work will still be there on your plate. And the only thing you get is stress and anxiety. Now, who am I? Who am I to stand here pretending that I can learn you a thing or two about productivity, about efficiency and focus? Well, I'm the CEO of TreeSign, and we're a small web agency. So that means that I'm the project manager, I'm the account manager, I'm sales. I decide on planning, on priorities for the team. I decide what should be a meeting and what not. And I'm also a fractional team lead for AG Consult, a fully remote company. That leaves me in charge of planning, priorities, and the overall happiness of that remote team. So that means that I have to be able to focus. I have to be able to get my own work done. I have to have some kind of project management habits, not rituals, to make sure that my work gets done, because otherwise my colleagues, they will sign off at the end of their day, and my day still has to start because my work is still on my plate. Now, I also have a few questions for you as well, because you know a few things about me now, and I am very interested in how you think about focus and project management. So I know it's fairly easy early in the morning, and we all had a long evening, or some of us had a long evening yesterday, so the only thing I want you to do is show me your hands if you agree with my question or with my statement. So here we go. Who thinks that AI will help us focus? Right? Who thinks that this talk will be about AI? Good. Good. James said it's rude to run away, so you can't run away now. Who thinks that project management is only for the project managers in our team? Nice. Who has heard about the Pomodoro technique? And who has successfully used it? Nice. I only have one question for you, and this will be my hardest question for you, the most difficult one to answer. Who knows when they are at their best during the day, when they are able to deliver their best work? Wow, love to see all those hands. Thank you so much. Now, before we're going to talk about 4 strategies to help you gain that focus and that efficiency and those project management tips and tricks, I want to have some kind of common understanding, common vocabulary when we're talking about efficiency and focus. So bear with me, won't take very long. If we're talking about efficiency, who has ever seen people at the gym drink protein shakes? Who has ever drank a protein shake to recover after a long and hard workout? By the way, who wants a protein shake? Okay, I'm gonna stop throwing stuff, or at least protein shakes. That protein shake basically is efficiency. You know what your body needs to recover after that long and hard workout, so that protein shake is the most efficient way to obtain that result, because efficiency basically is obtaining an end result with little to no waste, little to no energy. You get the best result possible by using the resources that you have. So that protein shake is, again, the most efficient way to help your body recover from that workout. Now, for us knowledge workers, the only resources that we have is basically time and our skills. So that means at work or during work hours, we have to make the most out of our time, with the skills that we have. And if we're talking about focus, I have a confession to make. I hate shopping, especially shopping for clothes. I can't stand the fact that people are there in the shops, they are touching everything, they are packing at everything, they are touching things, taking things and putting it somewhere else, where I just want that one piece of clothing that I need. So when I go shopping for clothes, I come prepared. I know what I want. I probably know what size I want. I try to figure out in what aisle it is. So I go in, I try it on, I pay, and I'm out. That is focus. I don't pay attention to those pigeons around me doing whatever they are doing. I don't pay attention to any distractions. So for you, again, focus is working towards that one goal without looking at those distractions and those interruptions. So perhaps focus for you, that means that you have to log out on social media after lunch, perhaps. Perhaps you have to leave your laptop out of meetings if you think that all those incoming emails will distract you from that meeting. Or perhaps that means that you have to block out some time in your calendar saying to your colleagues, whatever happens, don't bother me. I have to be able to make progress on what really matters. Of course, if shit hits the fan, they will reach out to you and you will have to be available, but try to have that focus time in your calendar. And if we're talking about project management, we're talking about meal planning. My husband and I, we decide on Friday evening or on Saturday morning what we will be eating for the entire week right before we go grocery shopping. I know this is boring. This is boring, but it makes my weeks predictable. And I love predictability. I love my weeks boring because I don't have to think about, do I have something in the fridge to eat? At work, I don't have to wonder, do I have to go grocery shopping or do I have to send him a shopping list? And if I don't have to ask myself those questions, my brain has space to work on what is needed. It has space to work on what really matters, my priorities, my goals for that day. So project management for me, it's about methods, it's about structure, but it's also about mitigating risks. The fact that I am wondering, what do I want to eat this evening? That's risk. And by putting in my calendar what I will be eating that day, I mitigated that risk. My brain doesn't have to think about it anymore. I have space in my brain to make time for my priorities. Again, to create that value for my clients, for my team. Now, of course, focus, efficiency, and project management, they don't matter if you don't ask yourself the right questions. And there are 3 questions you have to ask yourself. First question is, am I working on the right stuff? Do I have my priorities straight? You can work very efficiently, but if you're working on the wrong tasks, you don't create any value. So I challenge you, at the start of your day, decide on 3 priorities. 3 tasks, 3 tickets, 3 bugs, but that's your focus for the day. Or perhaps decide on 3 priorities for that week if you are working on larger stuff. People tend to be 20% more productive if they have their priorities straight. So you have a choice. Do you want to be that pigeon, packing around doing whatever? Or do you want to be that one person with their top priorities straight, with the chances that you will be 20% more productive? And if you have those priorities, start communicating about those priorities as well. Put them in your calendar, especially when you're working remotely. You don't want the risk that people are asking you, what are you working on today? Have you seen this ticket? And you especially don't want them to be working on your tickets because they don't know that you will be working on that. And that, again, that's a way of creating habits. if you start your day by choosing your 3 priorities, or better, if you end your day by picking out the 3 priorities for your next day, you will be more efficient, you will start creating habits, and if you create habits, again, your weeks, they will become boring. Your brain doesn't have to think, what will I be working on today? What will be next? What do I have to do? All those little questions, they take brain space, and that is space that you can use to focus on what really matters, on what really creates value. Now, second question I have for you, second question you have to ask yourself, if you have set your priorities, does your calendar reflect your priorities? This is about meetings. So if you have set your priorities, look at your calendar, look at all the meetings that are in your calendar and decide for yourself, do I have time enough to create that value based on those priorities I chose? And if the answer is no, then perhaps you should skip meetings. You have the choice, does that meeting add value to my priorities, or does that meeting add value to someone else's priorities? And then you get to decide in the meeting or skip the meeting. Now, third important question for you is, do you have to do this work? We've all been in that situation where someone puts you in CC of an email, they throw an extra bunch of tasks on your plate, and you end up sitting with extra work, and then you have the choice. Is this something that I have to do? Is this something I can delegate? Or perhaps can I even delegate it to AI? So now you have 3 important questions to ask yourself if you want to be able to work in a focused way, in an efficient way. And now I'm also going to share 4 strategies to obtain that efficiency and focus. So you keep those 3 questions in mind, and you combine them with the 4 upcoming strategies. And my first strategy for you to test out is, do you know your triggers? Do you know during the day when you get bored? Do you know during the day when you feel stressed and what the effect of stress is on your body? Do you know when you get distracted? So basically what I'm asking you right now, when do you want to do the laundry instead of your work? When does cleaning your kitchen sound more exciting than just doing your work? And if you don't have an answer to those questions, that's perfectly fine. But then I challenge you to observe your behavior over the upcoming weeks. Observe how you react to stress. Observe how you feel. Observe and try to detect for yourself what the trigger is when you go for social media and start scrolling. What is the trigger? When, at what point in your day are you distracted that you really want to go clean the kitchen instead of working? If you have an idea of those triggers, if you have an idea of those situations, again, project management, you can mitigate those risks. You know what you have to look out for yourself, and you can find a solution, you can find a workaround to fix that. And I also have a fun exercise for you to do. Now, if you have a small piece of paper, you can do it with me. If you don't, it's a fairly easy exercise you can do just in your mind as well. I want you to draw in your mind 2 axes. You have the X of time of the day, and you have the one with the ability to focus. Now you see my day starts at around 6, and I try to be in bed around 10, because otherwise I get way too little sleep to be able to focus the next day. So Codegarden, basically, I really need my sleep. Now think of your ability to focus as a dot on a curve. This is gut feeling. This is no scientific research. It's just feeling at every moment of the day what your ability to focus is. And then you get a curve. So basically, this is my curve. This is my ability to focus. You see that I'm at my best between 8 and 10-ish. You see that after lunch, I get a dip, and around 1 to 3, it's really hard for me to focus. I can be quite productive around 6, but don't ask me anything important after 6 because it goes downhill really fast. Now, if you see this curve, according to you, am I a morning person or am I an evening person? What would be your advice to me to plan meetings? What would be your advice to me to plan deep focus work? And when do you think you should put me in brainstorms? And when do you think I'll need my snacks? By the way, by now, I think you should all be able to answer that question, how do I respond to stress? And who said snacks? I have snacks, and you get snacks, and you get snacks. Some more snacks for everyone. Now, so basically, based on this curve, I am going to plan my deep focus work in the morning, and I will have my meetings in the afternoon. My coworkers, they know that they should try to avoid asking me questions between 8 and 10. But they know that they can put me in meetings between 1 and 3, and especially when they bring snacks, they will score some extra points. Now, if you have your ability to focus curve, and if you have your answer to those triggers, to those 3 important questions that I asked you, now is the time to start prioritizing. Now is the time to look at your calendar, look at your priorities, and start making that puzzle. At Resign, we go to the office on Mondays and on Wednesday, and we try to plan all our internal meetings on Monday. So that means we have our project meetings, we have our stand-ups, we have our code reviews, we have our coachings, so that by the end of the day, everyone knows what their priorities are. Everyone knows what they will be working on for the upcoming days. Easy, right? That also means that if they come to the office on Monday, they know that they will have a lot of meetings. But they know that with those meetings, they are able to organize and plan the rest of their week according to their ability to focus. So again, first choice when you're making priorities is about where are you going to do what type of work. Second thing you can start prioritizing is, again, meetings versus focus work. You know, if you have meetings in your calendar and you don't know what your role and your responsibility is, I will skip that meeting. So if you find those meetings in your calendar as well, I challenge you, either you try and figure out what the reason is that you are in that meeting, or you skip or try to skip that meeting. But based on your focus curve, you should be able to say to your coworkers, if you plan meetings with me, it would be best to plan them in the morning, it would be best to plan them between 1 and 3. So priorities, office days versus remote days, priorities, meetings versus focus work. Again, we are making our weeks predictable. We are making our weeks boring. If you're at the office, a lot of meetings, if you're working from home, you know that you will have the ability to organize your days based on your preferences. Again, if you organize your days based on your preferences, it's predictable, it's boring, it is whatever you want it to be. So please, keep the adventurous, exciting stuff for your weekends. Don't do that in your week. Make your weeks boring. Boring is good for your productivity. Boring means that you don't have to think about other things. You don't have to think about, oh, what will happen next? Stress. So if we're talking about priorities, we also have to talk about one thing that's sometimes difficult for me as well. We all have these tasks that are kind of a priority, but you don't want them to do. You hate that stuff, but it's on your priority list, so you'll have to do it. And then my week starts on Monday morning and I'll do it. I'm hyped, I'm able to do it, and by Monday evening, haven't done it. Tuesday morning, I'll do it today, I promise. Tuesday evening, nothing happens. Same goes on Wednesday, and by Wednesday evening, I have to ask myself, and I have to be honest to myself, what just happened? There is this one task, I don't want to do it, but I have to do it. I say that I want my weeks predictable, I want my weeks boring, but I allow this one task to just make my weeks unpredictable and stressy. So am I going to eat the frog or not? Am I going to start with the hardest task on Thursday morning, or am I going to keep postponing that? And this is one of my struggles, and this is one of my struggles that leads to my third strategy for you. You are able to hack your productivity. You are able, with all the tips and tricks I've shared so far, to hack your productivity to become more productive. But then I think you have to realize, what kind of person are you if we're talking about those hard, dreadful tasks that you hate? And I know there are two types of persons. We have that person that is really disciplined, that person that can say, I hate it, but I'll do it, I'll get it over with, and I don't have to think about it. Who can decide to do that one task that they hate as a first thing to do on their to-do list? Yeah, I know it's hard. Now, there are also people who want some kind of small successes. They try to build up until that moment that they feel ready. This is the moment I'll do the task that I hate. Some small shots of dopamine, some small successes, and then you're good to go. Who are the people who feel comfortable with those small successes before they eat that frog? I'm sometimes that really disciplined person. Well done. But most of the time, I need those small successes as well before I can really do that one thing I hate. And this is a personal choice. There is no wrong or right, but it's something that you have to know about yourself. If you want to hack your productivity, just know what your type of person, how you will respond to that eating the frog thing is. Because if you know, you can plan it accordingly. And if you know, you can also add some kind of gamification to your calendar. What is your reward for that one dreadful task that you've done? How are you going to reward yourself for picking up the phone and having that one difficult conversation with your manager, with your client, with your coworker? So again, allow yourself some fun in your calendar as well. Reward yourself for the task that you have done. It's important for you. Now, when we're talking about hacking your productivity, we're also talking about automating tasks. We're talking about habits. If you should look at my calendar, I have automated tasks on almost every day of my week. On Monday, I start my week by checking everyone's planning, and I really mean everyone's planning. What are their priorities for this week? What will they be working on? Can they work efficiently on those tasks, or will they be stuck because of some client briefing that is still missing? I have another automated task in my calendar to check my own tasks in GitLab. Did someone assign something to me that I missed that wasn't my priority last week? Or are there tickets stuck in GitLab because of whatever reason? So automated tasks in my agenda, my Monday starts, I don't have to think, I know that that will be my first priority of the day. Same goes for invoices. I always pay 3 signs invoices on Thursday. Do I have to think about paying invoices on Monday? No, because I have an automated task popping up in my calendar on Thursday saying this is your first priority of the day. Same goes with paying the wages of my team. Would I ever forget paying my team? Of course not. But it is an automated task in my calendar so that I can just forget about it for the entire month, and when it's needed, it's there. It pops up in my calendar. It's a habit. I don't have to think about it. My brain doesn't have to give it any attention. I can rely on those automated tasks to help me set my priorities. Would I ever forget invoicing my clients for the work that we've done? For sure not. But I still have that reminder on the first of the month to say that my main priority of that day is invoicing. So automating your tasks, making sure that you don't have to think about your priorities because at one time you thought of it, you automated it, it's in your calendar, you know what to do, you don't have to think, what is next, what is my priority? No side questions, your brain has space to focus on what matters. Now, if you have a smart way of planning, you should also have a smart way of communication. You should also start communicating with your team about the agreements that you need from them so that you are able to work efficiently and focused. If I block in my calendar every day from 8 to 10, I'll have to explain to my team why I'm doing that. I'll have to explain them and show them my ability to focus, my curve that you've seen on screen, to say that I need those 2 hours to be able to make progress on my to-dos. Same goes that if you really can't focus at 4, and that's perhaps the time to pick up your kids, talk about it, say it. It's okay for your colleagues to know that you will be offline between 4 and 5 or between 4 and 6. If you can't focus, you can't create any value. And again, it's not about time. It's about value that you create for your clients, that you create for your team. So if you can't focus around 4 and 6, go offline, do some fun stuff. And if you are able to focus around 8, then you will be back online, delivering that value, working on those tasks and those priorities. But especially in a remote working context, talk about it, share those insights so that your colleagues can't say, ooh, it's 4 o'clock and they're signing off. Ooh, they won't be working anymore. I also want to share this. This is from a friend of mine, and she posted this on LinkedIn. It's in Dutch, so you don't have to try and understand. I'll walk you through it. Basically, she observed her own behavior, and she created some kind of to-do list. So I've invited you to observe your behavior. She did this as well. And she created some kind of to-do list to kickstart her morning and some kind of to-do list as a habit to end her workday as well. She refers to her brain as a monkey brain, where I think we should call it a pigeon brain, especially after this talk. But the main fact is, in order for her to be able to work efficiently and focused, there are a few tasks that she has to do every workday. She made a list out of those, so every morning she takes out that list, she ticks off all the boxes, she does whatever she needs to do to kickstart her morning, to launch her in a positive way so that she is ready to eat that frog. Same goes at the end of her day. She has discovered that she needs some kind of routines, some kind of habits to make sure that she can close her day in a positive way. Timesheets, anyone? So again, if you have a closing habit, not ritual, if you have a closing habit and it can be a few to-dos on a to-do list, go for it. List them, make them predictable, and again, if you can tick those boxes, you have done whatever needed to be done to be able to sign off for that day. So again, hacking your productivity, what works for you? Can you automate your tasks? Can you start communicating about your habits? And can you translate those habits into to-do lists? Now, I have been talking quite a lot about being productive, being efficient, being on top of things. My fourth strategy, perhaps, is my most important strategy. From time to time, you have to do nothing. If you want to be able to be focused, to be on top of things, to really be your best at work, you have to allow yourself some breaks as well. So this is an open invitation for you to plan those breaks. Give yourself a break, plan it, put it in your calendar, because we know that you can't work on a laptop with a dead battery. You know that we can't use our smartphone when the battery is dead. But on the other hand, for ourselves, We try to work and work and work, even if our batteries are low. So again, if you are making the puzzle of your work week, put in those breaks as well. Give yourself time to stare out of the window, to do nothing, because in our society, everything goes faster and faster. We walk faster, we talk faster, we have to process information even faster, and now we have AI that helps us to help us process more information in a faster way. This has to lead to some kind of meltdown. This has to lead to some kind of overload in your brain. And if there's one thing I don't want for you, is that information overload. I don't want that meltdown for your brain. So please, if you want to be able to work focusedly and efficiently, plan some breaks, stare out of the window, do nothing, give yourself a break, give your brain a break, go out, go for a walk. We've all found that solution to that one problem when we were in the shower. Exactly. We've all found some kind of creative solution when we were offline, walking in the woods. And that's not coincidence, that's neuroscience. That is your brain highlighting other parts in your brain to be able to make it happen. Your best ideas, they won't show up when you are grinding. So I still have 8 minutes left, and I'm coming towards the end of the talk. And there are 2 things I want you to remember, so only 2 things to remember. I want you to remember, don't be a pigeon. Don't go packing around at whatever people throw at you, even if it's shit. I want you to be as effective as my dog Louis. He knows his priorities. He is perfectly capable to decide what he wants to do and doesn't want to do. And basically, he has his goals straight. He wants to eat, sleep, and play. He is perfectly capable of sleeping right before a play date. He always has his eyes on his goals or on the cheese. Thank you very much.